Have you ever noticed how, in so many arguments, the loudest person in the room often thinks they've won just because they raised their voice? In our culture, people confuse volume with authority, as if shouting somehow makes their words more valid. But let me ask you, have you ever truly respected someone just because they yelled louder? Of course not. Real power doesn't come from noise. It comes from calm, from presence, and from the precision of your words. Imagine this. You walk into a meeting, a heated family discussion, or even a casual conversation with friends. Tensions rise, voices get louder, and emotions start to take over. Then, instead of joining the chaos, you drop a single sentence. Not shouted, not forced, but spoken with calm conviction. And suddenly, the room shifts. People pause. They look at you differently. And without even realizing it, they're listening. That's the kind of quiet authority that commands respect, and it's far more powerful than any raised voice. The Stoic philosophers understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest emperors of Rome, didn't lead by shouting over others. He led with clarity and composure, knowing that people follow those who stay steady in the storm. And that truth hasn't changed. Whether it's your boss, your partner, or even a stranger, the way you respond matters more than how loudly you react. So today, I want to share with you 6 powerful responses, 6 phrases that require no shouting, no anger, and no humiliation of the other person. These are not weapons to crush someone else's ego. They are shields to protect your dignity, your peace of mind, and your authority. Because when you learn to speak with calm confidence, you don't just win arguments, you earn respect. And the moment you start practicing these responses, you'll feel the shift, not only in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. 1. I understand your point, but I disagree. The first powerful response is simple, yet it carries an incredible weight. I understand your point, but I disagree. At first glance, it may not seem like much, but the truth is this phrase is one of the cleanest ways to communicate strength without aggression. Think about how most arguments unfold. Someone throws out an idea, maybe in a meeting, maybe at the dinner table. It could be a suggestion at work that doesn't make sense, or a comment from a family member that you know isn't right. The usual reaction? People either get defensive and push back with frustration, or they stay silent to avoid conflict. Both of those options weaken your position. One makes you look reactive, the other makes you look passive. But this phrase gives you a third option. By saying, I understand your point, but I disagree, you're doing 3 things at once. First, you acknowledge the other person. You're letting them know you've listened, and people crave that. Second, you show respect without giving away your own authority. And third, you set a clear boundary. I hear you, but I don't share your judgment. That's powerful. The Stoics believed in separating emotion from judgment. They taught that you don't have to let anger dictate your response. You can stay calm and still be firm. And this phrase is a perfect modern example of that principle. Imagine being in a meeting where someone suggests a plan you know won't work. Instead of snapping back with, that's wrong, or rolling your eyes, you calmly say, I understand your point, but I disagree. Suddenly, the energy shifts. You haven't insulted them, but you've established yourself as someone who thinks independently and refuses to be swayed by pressure. Here's the best part. When you use this phrase consistently, people begin to respect your voice more, not less. They realize you're not afraid to stand alone if you have to. You're not controlled by the need to please, nor by the urge to dominate. You are calm, steady, and clear. And in a noisy world, that kind of clarity is unforgettable. 2. I don't find that appropriate. The second powerful response is just 5 words, but it can change the entire direction of a conversation. I don't find that appropriate. Why is this phrase so effective? Because it draws a boundary without requiring long explanations, without anger, and without giving the other person space to argue. When you say it, you're making it crystal clear that certain behavior, words, or jokes simply don't meet your standards. And the beauty of it is that there's no real comeback. No one can logically argue with your right to decide what you find appropriate. Picture this. You're in the middle of a work meeting, and someone makes a sarcastic remark that's borderline offensive. Maybe it's a colleague trying to get a laugh at your expense. Most people would either laugh along awkwardly to keep the peace or stay silent and feel disrespected inside. But imagine looking at them calmly, holding eye contact and saying, "I don't find that appropriate." Suddenly, the room goes quiet. The joke isn't funny anymore, and the person who tried to undermine you is forced to face their own behavior. The Stoics often taught that dignity is like an invisible shield. It protects you, but only if you carry it with awareness. Seneca once said, "He who respects himself will be respected by others." This phrase embodies that wisdom. You're not attacking anyone. You're not humiliating them. You're simply standing in your self-respect, showing others exactly how you expect to be treated. And here's what's fascinating. When you use this phrase, you don't just silence disrespect in the moment. You teach people how to treat you moving forward. Over time, those around you will think twice before crossing that line because they know you won't tolerate it. In a world where too many people let things slide out of fear of conflict, those who calmly set boundaries stand out as strong, confident, and deeply self-assured. And remember, commanding respect isn't about making noise. It's about showing through your words and presence that you value yourself enough not to accept less. 3. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. The third response may be the most transformative of them all. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. Why is this so powerful? Because it does something most people never think of. It changes the rules of the game. When someone is shouting, interrupting, or speaking to you with hostility, the natural instinct is either to match their tone or to withdraw completely. But this phrase gives you a third path. You stay calm, you stay present, but you refuse to continue until respect is on the table. Imagine being in a heated argument. The other person keeps cutting you off, their voice rising, trying to overwhelm you with aggression. Instead of raising your voice to compete, you pause. You breathe. You look them in the eye and say, "Let's talk when we can do so respectfully." Instantly, the energy shifts. You're no longer fighting about the issue, you're defining the terms of engagement. And the other person has to make a choice. Either lower their tone and treat you properly, or lose the conversation altogether. The Stoics would call this self-mastery. Epictetus reminded us that while you cannot control the behavior of others, you can always control what you choose to accept. By speaking these words, you are declaring, "I will not participate in disrespect. My peace is worth more than this argument." And that declaration alone often silences the noise around you. Here's the beauty of this phrase. It's not avoidance, it's leadership. You're raising the standard of communication and showing that you value meaningful dialogue over pointless battles. In many cases, the first time you use it, you'll notice a surprising silence. People are caught off guard because they expect resistance or surrender, not calm authority. And over time, those around you learn something crucial. If they want to engage with you, respect is the minimum requirement. That's not weakness, that's strength in its purest form. 4. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is simply to walk away. And that's exactly what this phrase does. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. Why does it work? Because it communicates something most people never dare to say, that your energy and your peace are more valuable than winning an argument. When someone keeps pushing, when every word they throw at you is designed to provoke or to wear you down, you don't have to keep playing their game. This phrase is the key to stepping out of the trap with dignity intact. Picture this. You're caught in a back and forth with someone who clearly doesn't want resolution. They just want to win. Maybe it's a coworker arguing out of pride or a friend who refuses to listen. You can feel the conversation spiraling, going nowhere fast. Instead of matching their frustration, you breathe, stay composed, and calmly say, "I'd prefer not to continue this conversation." In that moment, you've cut the toxic cycle at the root. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That wisdom comes alive here. You're refusing to mirror their negativity. You're choosing to rise above it, and people notice that. When you calmly step away, it doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look stronger, because you've shown that your self-control is greater than their provocation. Here's the truth. Not every conversation deserves your energy. And when you make it clear that you won't waste your breath on endless conflict, you teach others something vital, that access to your time and attention is a privilege, not a right. This phrase isn't about shutting down dialogue forever. It's about reclaiming control. It shows that you know when to disengage, when to preserve your peace, and when to focus on what truly matters. And in a world where people constantly fight to have the last word, the one who walks away with composure always leaves the deepest impression. 5. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. Not every disagreement happens with an enemy. Sometimes it's with the people closest to us. Friends, coworkers, even family members. People who mean well but push their views a little too hard. And in those moments, you need a response that keeps the peace while still holding your ground. That's when you say, "That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it." This phrase is brilliant because it balances courtesy with firmness. You're acknowledging the other person's right to have their perspective, but you're also affirming your independence. You're saying, "I hear you, I value you, but I think for myself." And that balance changes everything. Imagine this. A close friend keeps insisting you make a decision you don't agree with. Maybe it's about your career, your lifestyle, or even your relationships. They're convinced they know what's best for you, and they won't stop pressing. Instead of getting defensive or starting an endless debate, you calmly look at them and say, "That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it." In that moment, you've set a boundary without creating unnecessary conflict. The Stoics warned about the danger of becoming a slave to other people's opinions. Seneca once wrote, "To be a slave to the opinion of others is the worst of all prisons." And this phrase is your key to freedom. You're not rejecting the person, you're rejecting the pressure to surrender your judgment. That distinction is what makes this response so powerful. Here's what happens when you use it. People realize they can't easily bend you. They might still disagree, but they begin to respect your independence. And more importantly, you start respecting yourself more, because you've proven that your values and your voice matter. In a world where so many people cave under pressure just to avoid conflict, being able to say these words calmly and clearly makes you stand out. It shows you're strong enough to respect others without losing yourself. And that, more than anything else, commands real respect. 6. Silence is also my answer. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. And that's where this phrase comes in. Silence is also my answer. At first it might sound passive, but in reality, silence, when used intentionally, is one of the strongest tools you have. Think about it. There are moments when arguing, explaining, or defending yourself only gives more power to the person trying to provoke you. The more you talk, the more fuel you add to their fire. But when you choose silence, you take away their oxygen. You send a clear, undeniable message. I will not waste my energy on this. Picture being in an argument where someone is desperate to get a reaction from you. They raise their voice, throw out insults, maybe even mock you, hoping you'll fight back. Instead, you pause. You breathe. You simply say, "Silence is also my answer." And then you stop. That moment of stillness hits harder than any comeback you could have offered. Suddenly, the power shifts. They're left with their own words echoing in the air, forced to reflect on how they sound. Marcus Aurelius himself once said, "Sometimes silence is the best answer." He knew that silence isn't empty. It's full of strength, discipline, and presence. It's a declaration that you won't be dragged into a meaningless battle. It shows you are in control, not your emotions. And here's what's remarkable. Silence doesn't just disarm the other person. It inspires respect from everyone watching. People notice the one who doesn't get rattled, the one who refuses to be provoked. In a noisy world full of quick tempers and endless shouting, the calm person stands out as unforgettable. So remember this. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means mastery. It's proof that you don't need the last word to win. Because often, the loudest statement you can make is to say nothing at all. So now you have 6 powerful responses. And let's be clear, they are not weapons to humiliate or crush anyone. They are shields, tools of clarity and dignity, designed to protect your peace of mind while inspiring respect from those around you. Let's remember them one more time. 1. I understand your point, but I disagree. 2. I don't find that appropriate. 3. Let's talk when we can do so respectfully. 4. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. 5. That's your opinion and I respect it, but I don't share it. 6. Silence is also my answer. When you begin to practice these phrases, something subtle but powerful starts to shift. People notice you're not easy to provoke. They recognize that you value yourself enough to set boundaries, and they start to tread more carefully around you. Not because they fear you, but because they respect the presence you carry. This is the essence of Stoicism in daily life. Respect is never won through shouting, intimidation, or anger. True respect is earned through self-control, clarity, and the quiet strength of character. As Marcus Aurelius showed centuries ago, the calmest person in the room often holds the most power. And in today's world of noise and quick tempers, that truth is more relevant than ever. So the next time you find yourself in a heated discussion, remember, you don't need to outshout anyone. You don't need to prove yourself with aggression. Speak calmly, set boundaries, and when necessary, let silence speak for you. Because real power isn't about forcing others to listen. It's about commanding respect through who you are. Here at Daily Stoic Light, we share these timeless lessons so you can live with more respect, more peace, and an unshakable inner strength. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the wisdom coming next could completely transform the way you handle life's challenges. And tell me in the comments, which of these 6 responses are you going to try first? I'd love to read your answer.